Welcome back to the equations unit. Today we're going to be continuing multi-step equations. We're going to break this down into two parts, and this is part one. So let's go ahead and get going right now. Welcome back. Today we're going to be moving on in our equations units by talking about multi-step equations, and we're going to be doing that in just two parts. Today we're going to start with part one, so let's go ahead and take a look at some key ideas. So before we start to solve some equations, we need to remember a couple things. So before we start, remember we're going to draw that wall to keep two sides of our equation separated. Step one, we're going to need to simplify each equation completely. So sometimes our equations are going to have combining like terms on one side. They might have distributive property. We need to make sure to get rid of those things first before we begin solving our equation. So then we're going to eliminate our constant using the inverse operation with either plus or minus. Then we're going to eliminate our coefficient with the inverse operation with either multiplication or division. So those last two steps are the same two steps as we would use when solving a two-step equation, but before we get there, we're going to have to make sure that everything is simplified in a multi-step equation. So let's go ahead and take a look at example A. So here in example A, it says combine like terms. So I've got negative 5a minus 12 plus 8a plus 4 equals 1. So before I solve equations, I'm going to have to combine my like terms because I can't just subtract constants. There's two of them, and I can't get rid of coefficients because there's two of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. I'm going to make my little chart that I have. So I'm going to have a's on one side of my chart, and I'm going to have constants on the other. So I've got negative 5a, that's going to be part of the a. I've got negative 12, that's going to be a constant. I've got positive 8a, that's going to be an a, and positive 4 will be a constant. Now, I'm not going to do anything with the 1. The 1 is on the other side of that wall. I don't need to do anything with it because it's not part of the one side of the equation that I'm working with the variables. So leave the 1 out of this. That's on the other side of the equation. Negative 5a plus 8a is going to give me 3a. Negative 12 plus 4 is going to give me negative 8. Again, use your calculator if you don't know your integer rules. So now that I've got it simplified, I'm going to go ahead and write it in. So I've got 3a minus 8 is going to equal 1. And as you notice, after I simplified, now I've just got a regular two-step equation. So I'm going to go ahead and solve that. My negative 8 is my constant, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Negative 8 and positive 8 are going to cancel, leaving me with just 3a. 1 plus 8 is 9, and then I need to do the inverse operation of multiplication because I got 3 times a. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, or 1a, and then 9 divided by 3 is 3. So my final answer is a equals 3. Fabulous. Let's go on to the next one. So here we are at practice problem number 1, combine like terms. It looks a little bit like the problem that we just did as a example. So I want you to go ahead and try this one now. You're going to go ahead and pause the video, do the problem the best you can on your own, then press play again to see if you are right. How did you do? Were you able to get the answer correct? Hopefully you got C is equal to negative 6. Notice I made my chart. You don't need to make your chart to combine like terms, but it is a helpful tool to use if you're still not sure how to do it. And you've got C equals negative 6. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next example. Here we are at example B, and it says distributive property. So this time I have to use the distributive property to simplify my equation before I start solving. So again, I'm going to draw that wall because I don't want to get the 65 in here. It doesn't need to be part of the equation or part of the distributing property part because it's on the other side of that wall. So I'm going to be distributing 5/6 to 30 and 5/6 to negative 12. So I can use my calculator for this. I just type 5 divided by 6 times 30, and that will give me 25. So I'm going to have 25n. And then I can do the same thing to 5/6 and then negative 12. Remember the negative. Don't forget the sign here. It's very important that we have the sign as well. So again, 5 divided by 6 in our calculator times 12 negative in our calculator will give us negative 10. And then I'm going to bring down my 65 because, again, I didn't have to do anything with that. It was on the other side of the wall. So now let's go ahead and solve. I've got my constant is negative 10. So I'm going to add 10 to both sides of my equation. These are going to cancel, bring down my 25n. 65 plus 10 is 75. So now I've got 25n on both sides of the equation. I'm going to divide by 25. These are going to cancel and bring me 1n. 75 divided by 25 is 3, and n equals 3, or 3 equals n. It doesn't matter which way you read it. It ends up being the same answer. And let's go on to the next problem. So here we are at practice problem number 2, where you're going to be using the distributive property. Be very careful because your practice problem has a negative number in front of the 6, or a negative sign in front of the 6, so be very careful when you're doing your problem. Go ahead and pause the video now, do the best that you can, and then press play again to see if you are right. How did you do? Were you able to get the same answer that I got? 4 equals y or y equals 4, the same answer, either way that you read it. If not, go ahead and take a look through my work to see where you may have made your error, and let's go on to the next one. So here we are at practice number 3, and it says which equations have a solution of 3. So you've got 4 equations there. You're going to be solving each of them and determining which ones have a solution of 3. So go ahead and try that now. Do all 4 problems, do the best that you can, and then press play again to see if you are right. So how did you do? Were you able to come up with the same answers that I came up with? Hopefully you did. The 2 on the left equal 3. The 2 on the right do not. If you're not sure, go ahead and check your work. Make sure that it looks like mine. If your work does look like mine, great. That brings us to the end of this video. If you like this video, go ahead and smack that like button. If you love this video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up. And we will catch you in the next one.